Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Funktuate, and today I'm going to be taking you through my track No.1 Underground. It was created predominantly with all the stuff you see here. Bass was on the Moog, drums were recorded from the Roland TRAS here. We've also got samples from Splice and the Dig Attack that were chopped and then recorded in. As we'll talk about just kind of the overview of the track, what's going on, the recording of everything and how it was layered after the fact, all the elements that we added afterwards that we couldn't necessarily do when we were creating it on the hardware. We're going to go into some of the mixing techniques that were implemented, and then just kind of the mastering chain, what's kind of happening at the end of the line when we're done for that final export. So it's a very simple track, nothing too crazy going on. I am in no ways a professional audio engineer or sound designer. I just like having fun with music, guys. So there's definitely going to be some wrong things that you guys might see. Please give me the constructive criticism necessary to fix anything. Take everything with a grain of salt. I'll just go through what I ended up having fun with and what ended up sounding good for me. So this track was created on my show Monday Funkday, which I do every Monday. It's a live stream where I just kind of do live improvised music on all the instruments. This song was just created organically. There was no planning involved, nothing like that. I selected the samples, made the drum beat, made the bass line. There's actually a clip on my Instagram of the live stream moments where the song was made. So go follow me on Instagram. So guys, yeah, so the main sample was from this key sample. And as you guys know,
hold steady in the underground as we hit you with the #1 sound.
And then you guys know it's No.1 Underground, so I had to actually go into the Dig Attack, choose where I wanted the sample to start.
#1 sound, number one.
I'm not going to get it exactly like it was in the single, but
the number one.
But yeah, you know, and then Underground.
Underground.
I had to go and find that too, so.
The #1 Underground. The #1 Underground. Hit you with the.
So.
The #1 Underground. Hit you with the.
Terrible. Yeah, so we were pretty limited by the hardware itself. It's not until you get into the software where you can really expand on those ideas. The drum beat was also really simple. It's just a kick, hi-hat, snare. I won't reprogram everything. I can't get those samples back as easy. The main idea was the #1 Underground from the vocal sample and then the keys. So that was kind of the backbone of the beat. And then once I got it into the computer, I started to get creative with, you know, the layering and the way it was recorded. I kind of had an idea of the arrangement prior to kind of recording it. So I made the bulk of the beat just with all the percussion elements, the bass, the samples going full blast, recorded them all multi-tracked like they were sequenced in that session. And then, you know, you kind of pick and choose, you subtract and add those elements as needed for the arrangement. And that's basically what I did. So I kind of knew I wanted a bit of a filtered intro. So I recorded the main elements through the filter on the master on the TRAS. It processes input signal. So I have all the synths running through just to give it filtering, global reverb, delay, all that good stuff. It's a really good performance tool. This is the filtered elements here recorded. So as you can hear, just high passed.
#1 Underground. Hit you with the #1 Underground. #1 Underground. #1 Underground. #1 Underground. Hit you with the.
And then here's where it kind of got interesting, guys. So I only really got the first part of the sample for the keys. But then I listened to the full thing, and then there's this part here. And then you can hear that it's different from the... So the dun 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 is the kind of descending in tone, right? And then you have the kind of... that ascending one. So I recorded that as well. I recorded that kind of B part. And then when you layer them together, you kind of get this cool harmony. In the moment creating it, I'm not going to necessarily think about that. But when I was able to actually record everything, think about the way the track wanted to be and all that kind of stuff, that was a nice little discovery. For the vocals, guys, all the high pass recording was pretty simple to do. You know, you have your keys, you got your #1 Underground.
#1 Underground.
I didn't really get creative with the vocal up until I got to the drop area here. So Again, guys, the vocal was just a single mono signal.
The number one.
So it wasn't until I got it into Ableton where I was able to layer it. So the first time it really gets clever is right before the drop.
As we hit you with the number one sound.
So nothing crazy. You can see there's 3 layers. Each one is kind of doing something different. So you got your left layer.
As we hit you with the number one sound.
And then that's also transposed up 1 and tuned down 15 cents. That detuning causes a little bit of difference in the ear and whatnot. So as you can see, all the way left and then all the way right on this guy up here. So together,
as we hit you with the number one sound.
Then you have the middle one.
As we hit you with the number one sound.
And then that's taking care of,
as we hit you with the number one sound,
just that space it needs to fill right before the drop there. And then you have your the little clap that happens there. That's pretty much the technique for the vocal throughout the track.
Number one underground.
You can see the order of the tracks is different from that. The first one I showed you for the first example for the drop vocal, but hard right, hard left, and then you have your middle. And then I'm assuming this one is detuned. No. Is this one detuned? Slightly. Up 6 cents. I also have a different algorithm running.
Number one underground. Number one underground.
Interesting. So yeah, with those layers, guys, it really brings out the space it needs to fill in that part of the mix. So again, expanding on the ideas. So the synths are kind of just like a sketch pad where I'm able to kind of blurb out all my ideas, kind of refine them down to a certain, groove and skeleton for a song. And then I can come in here and put all the meat on it, all the meat on the bones and create just more structure and whatnot, fill those spaces. So yeah, guys, you can see our vocal channel went from 1 channel of recording to there's 3 right there, 3 right there, 3 right there. So we got 9 channels now responsible for all of our vocal audio. So for the drums, also very basic, guys, just the beat here. All recorded from the TR-8S except for this crash and this snare right here. It was a single snare, but I looped it, consolidated it, all that stuff. And the only other element that's not originally recorded off the floor, guys, is this massive channel, which is just single white noise. All right, guys, so we'll kind of start it from the beginning here, and then we'll kind of go through, now that you guys kind of know the gist of what's going on, I'll kind of go through the layers that I couldn't really add beforehand. So there's this really cool part in the intro where there's a bunch of these stacks that I recorded off the Moog, and it's just this really shrill rise in the background. So see if you can hear it. I'll play the whole buildup.
Number one underground. Number one underground. Number one underground. Number one underground. Hit you with the number one underground. Number one underground. Number one underground. As we hit you with the number one sound.
So yeah, guys, that's just to create a little bit of tension in the background while it's building up. So there's a few things going on. I have this bass channel here too. It's subtle, but it does create that little bit of depth in the low end. Because again, remember we recorded all this in the high pass. It just gave it a little bit of that buzz that I needed to, I wanted to keep it very low bass until the drop came, just to give it more of that shock. But it needed just a little bit of body in the buildup, so that's why that's there. Little downlifter effects. That's also not original recording, but 98% of this whole song is recorded through the interface from the synths again. So let's play the buildup. again, guys, yeah, these are really fun. So they're each doing something different. Same, but different. So what each one is doing basically is I have just a single saw wave, and while the song is building up, I'm adjusting the pitch, I'm adjusting the detune, I'm adjusting all these things to kind of create that tension in the background. I did it very similarly, but different enough so that each one is kind of doing its own thing, but filling that same space again. So same kind of technique. I have one all the way to the left, all the way to the right for the other one, and with that, it just creates this whole entire space of this weird, shrill sound. And each one kind of, I gave its own rise with automation for the just the volume fade in, just so it was more subtle into the build there. So let's see.
No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. Hit you with the No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. Hit you with the No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground.
Yeah, and there's the I doubled or I just sampled, not double. I did double it over here, but I just sampled him, the ground portion of No.1 Underground and made a little vocal riser with that. Fun stuff like that goes a long way, guys. So let's keep going. We'll talk about the drop a little bit here. And then
As we hit you with the No.1 sound.
again, guys, not too much going on. I tried to keep it pretty loose, so I have more elements to bring in down the line. This wasn't too heavy on elements, guys, so it really came down to the arrangement, how the song was being presented at certain parts and all that kind of stuff, what you can bring in, what you can bring out, and using effects to your advantage really helped with this one, just because we're so limited because there's 4 main ideas. You have the No.1 Underground, you have the dun 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 keys, you have the bass, and we'll just say the drums. That's 4 main parts to this whole entire track. So you really have to stretch out your resources, guys. So there's a full beat section right here. You can see how it kind of goes into this area here where you have the most elements stacked on top of each other. So that's basically the bulk of the track, and then from there you can see there's parts stripped away, and we'll go into what elements are being added, what are being taken away, and all the other layering that I forgot to talk about as we go along here. So the drop again sounds like this.
As we hit you with the No.1 sound.
All right, so yeah, the bass is super simple, guys. It's just a triangle wave with the square sub on, filtered, barely any envelope modulation on the filter, guys. Such a basic patch. And then the notes are literally just D, F, G, A. That was recorded straight in, nothing too crazy. And then we also have this cool little snare or rim shot thing. Again, so I wanted to keep the vocal out, because in the build-up we have the vocal kind of being teased. No.1 Underground. And then we have the...
As we hit you with the No.1 sound.
Just to keep things fresh. The bass comes in, the unfiltered keys and all that. So that's enough freshness for the ear for me, where I'm like, okay, we can let the vocal just kind of chill for a second. We can bring it back later. But we still need those fill elements with the vocal, right? So as you can see, we get near the end of the section here. So subtly in the background, we have the hit you with the... And... just like my old technique, keep this in your back pocket. Have one panned hard right, hard left. make some subtle nuances in the tuning and whatnot. And it really, like, this one's tuned down 3 semitones. So, where is it? No. So it's so quiet, but it fills so much space just in the background. And then just to complement it, I gave it a little bit of this rim shot. So that together for that little fill. And like I mentioned about stretching out your resources as much as you can, this was interesting. This little part right here, if you notice, there's a little offbeat kind of key section that comes in. So that was literally, this track doubled and then moved over an 8th note. So just by that, I have this. Right? So what I was able to do with that, I threw it through the auto filter and then just some EQ, modified it just because I didn't want any stereo output. I don't know why. Again, just technique for what made sense in the mix, guys. And then to make it kind of have that filter modulation, it's just the envelope settings here affecting that. So a slow attack, fast-ish release with that much envelope at that frequency with this exact sample gives you that result. And again, guys, I just used that sample, moved it over, gave it some extra effect, and you can see what it kind of adds to that next section to kind of give it a little bit more life and some breathing room.
As we hit you with the #1 sound, #1 Underground.
And again, guys, all that was brought in there was the hi-hat, you know, and a bigger break. So you can see in the arrangement, there's 2 main sections for the drop here. And the first, so we call the section 1 and section 2. So we have section 1.1 and section 1.2. In 1.2, we brought in the offbeat key part with the filter. And then here we brought in the hi-hats. But I like to work in this thing called rules of 2, where you bring in 2 things at a time. So from part 1 to 2, I brought in 2 new elements. I kind of teased a new element with the offbeat key. And then I gave it that hard break with the drop vocal.
As we hit you with the #1 sound, #1 Underground.
And then now full on the #1 Underground vocal comes in, guys. So you can see where the drop starts right over here and doesn't come in until here. I give it some fill vocals. I give it the little percussion or the rim shot. And then I bring in the offbeat keys. I bring in the hi-hat and the #1 Underground here. That's how I used the resources I had from the recordings and just kind of made them my own, more or less, for the track. So it just goes to show, this is so easy, guys. It's so simple. That filter trick is so easy, and it made that whole entire part totally different and fresh to the ear. The drums are super basic, guys. It's literally just single recordings for each. You know, you have your kick, got your snare, clap in this instance, open 909 hat, you've got And these were all sequenced and recorded just from the drum machine, guys. Pretty raw. I think I recorded most at -6 or -12 dB. And then, you know, you have that headroom for when you're arranging and editing and whatnot. And it really helps with the mixing and the mastering. That being said, guys, we have some other things, you know, like crashes. What's this? We had oh yeah, that's a nice little addition. So section 2.2 of the second part here, you can kind of see the stair effect. So we have this part, and then it kind of cascades down with this part of the arrangement. So a little bit of ride action in the back. And then I did do a little bit of rising in the transposition of the ride cymbal there. Not to mention, you know, you have all these other build elements like the snare roll.
As we hit you with the #1 sound, #1 Underground.
And then, yeah, after the drop, you know, you kind of have to let it breathe for a little bit. So here, I took out the bass, left the #1 Underground, filtered it out, added some, you know, spacey kind of reverb effects.
#1 Underground. #1 Underground. #1 Underground. #1 Underground.
I stayed consistent with that rim shot there just to kind of give it some variety. That fill basically carries out the whole entire track.
#1 Underground. #1 Underground. As we hit you with the #1 Underground. #1 Underground. #1 Underground. #1 Underground.
And that part's interesting. So I left the #1 Underground. We have this crazy percussion roll down here playing. So this is the most elements in the track coming up or down here. I'll skip to it. So this is the most you'll hear of all the elements in the track really playing together. You can see we even have that Moog rise twice. So in the background here, it's adding that tension in the background.
As we hit you with the #1 sound.
And then the outro here, guys, it's pretty basic. Again, same kind of idea as taking away and adding and whatnot. So there's a little bit of that going on, but kind of, you know, for the goal of ramping it down towards the end. So I didn't really have too much going on here. I had just the kick and the bass, you know, which is the first time you hear just the kick and the bass in the track. Again, keeping new elements, new combinations of elements for later in the track, you know. It's the end of the track, but it's the first time you heard just the kick. Oh no, I'm a liar. Or am I? I am. Nope. I'm still telling the truth, because here you have the kick and the bass, and here you have kick and no bass. But listen there. You have the #1 Underground, and I traded the #1 Underground for the bass. Alright guys, that's pretty much all the kind of cool stuff that went on in the track. Again, it was super basic. It was so easy. To to get the I'm not going to say easy. It was still, you know, there's always problems with making music and all that kind of stuff. The recording part I love, and the arranging and the editing of all the parts, the creative side of things, right? But the mixing can get a little tedious, and that's where I kind of fall off. I'm still learning a lot about the mixing, but guys, there's some real basic stuff going on. I kind of have my groupings done up in groups. Spoiler alert. So again, guys, back to the beginning with this filtered section. It's just echo. There's this really cool thing called Endless Smile. And what it does is basically add tension and space, and it's basically like a build-up machine effects in a box, basically. So you can see here.
No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. Hit you with the
I'm automating the echo and dry wet, as well as the intensity on the Endless Smile here.
No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. Hit you with the No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground.
Yeah, so that's just giving it a little bit more air and whatnot for that. On these, what's on this group? A lot of stuff.
No.1 Underground. No.1 Underground.
So fair bit of automation happening here, guys. So I got a lot of stuff that's on and off for, you know, different parts of the track. So because this part, certain elements of this group, they run through different portions of the track, so they're needed for different things. So for this section here, I have the filtered kick, and I just have that actually side chaining these guys with a normal compressor. And then I think when I get into the drop, that's when the LFO tool kicks on. Yeah, right there. The reason why there's two compressors doing side chaining on that channel, guys, is because this kick necessarily isn't running through the whole track. In fact, it's only at the beginning. So I didn't want to program two LFO tools in order to do the side chaining there. So just out of the gate, that one is side chaining the kick, and then the other one is, where is it? Jeez, there it is. So the LFO tool is doing the side chaining for the drop, and then this one is just doing the side chaining for the intro when that kick is active. Jeez. What else? Any processing on the bass? A little bit. So we'll play it raw without the filtering, or the we'll play it raw here without any of the effects, guys. So this is what the bass sounds like on its own. With the processing, and that's just a saturator going into an EQ, which I don't even have it high passed. Wow, this is super exposing. The one knob fatter by Waves. Get it? And drum processing, guys, super easy. I just have compressor just catching the peaks. I got the drum bus kind of doing some dynamic crunchiness to the sound there. All right, guys, so processing on the drum bus is pretty basic. So here it is. We got the compressor just catching the peaks. We've got this guy. What is this guy? I think I had it off before spread. But yeah, pretty basic. Compressor to catch the peaks, drum bus to kind of fatten up, crunch it up, do some other dynamic stuff behind the scenes, I'm sure. See, I don't know everything. It just sounds cool. And then we have the filter, doing filtery things where we need it the most, which is over here for the build. But here's what the bus sounds like off and on. Kind of got a little gritty, got a little bit more distorted. Those hi-hats really began to shine through a little bit more. So other than that, guys, pretty basic mixing. There's just, again, just a lot of the bus processing here, guys. So even on the vocal channel, it's just filters, reverbs, automating the dry wet.
As we hit you with the #1 sound, #1 underground, #1 underground, #1 underground, #1 underground, you with the #1 underground, #1 underground, #1 underground. As we hit you with the #1 underground, #1 underground, #1 underground, #1 underground, you with the #1 underground.
There's not even any side chaining on that percussion. I don't even know if I meant to do that. I might have just forgot.
As we hit you with the #1 sound.
Yeah, so there's, you know, the track kind of put together the way it was mixed. Lots of, you know, reverb automation, delay, dry, wet automation. It's all stock plugins, guys, except for the wave stuff, but Ableton plugins can do it just as good. This was made with everything that you can just get inside of Ableton. Sure, you know, you have the synths and whatnot that have character that you know, you can program and record. But Ableton does have everything you guys need to make a perfectly good track. Including good mastering stuff here. Again, guys, this is probably going to be the most exposing, embarrassing thing ever. But here is the chain. I just had some stuff on it for AB, for mono, just testing out the different frequency ranges to see where things are sitting at certain cutoffs. That's not really too important. I'll take off that. Is there anything on that filter? Nope. So the mastering chain. So we have a reverb, apparently. We have a utility. I think that's there to... There's so many things in here, guys, that I just threw on for testing that I left on that aren't actually doing anything. So just keep that in mind. I'll try to turn off everything I know isn't doing anything. Oh, I think this was just to give it a little bit of top end with the resonance right at the peak there at the 19.9 kilohertz. Global reverb, which is might be dumb. I don't know, but I like the way it sounded. OTT, saturator, and limiter. I slammed it all the way to 0, guys. Deadmau5, if you're watching, I deserve a slap, I'm pretty sure. School me, guys. I need to learn, but this goes to show that you don't need to know everything to at least make a decent sounding track, if that's what you want to call it. I'm pretty proud of the way I made it sound, but I'll play, you know, the drop just with everything off here. Let's go to the main drop here and just play it without any of the mastering on.
As we hit you with the #1 sound.
And then with the mastering on.
As we hit you with the #1 sound.
So I guess logically this chain was put together in this order. Let's try to make some sense of it here. I started with, you know, just at least boosting a little bit of the high end before it gets into the rest of the chain. Reverb on an OTT really, like, I think the track was sounding a little bit empty in kind of some spaces in the background. So that global reverb is kind of just there to take care of that shimmer in the background. The OTT really brings out that reverb. You can see it's not that much of an amount. So it's only affecting it 24%. Where if we max it out,
As we hit you with the #1 sound.
way too obnoxious. And then the saturator.
As we hit you with the #1 sound.
Subtle grittiness. It just gives it enough of that texture where it just kind of brings it up to that subpar level. And then the limiter, guys, it's just making everything loud at the end.
As we hit you with the #1 sound.
That's pretty much it, guys. Very easy, very simple track. It was created just on the spot on Monday Funkday. Go check it out, guys. Go stream #1 Underground on Spotify, anywhere you guys stream your music. I'll have the link in the description below. Go listen to it. Come back to this so it makes sense. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. This is my first time doing anything like this, but I had a lot of fun just kind of demonstrating the technique and some of the work that went into the track. Coming from something so simple and organic to really expanding on those ideas. Thank you guys very much for watching. And if you guys have any more video suggestions, let me know. I want to keep doing more of these. It's been a while since I made my last video. So thanks again, guys. My name is Funktuate. See you guys every single Monday for Monday Funkday. Go check it out. All live improvised music made right on the spot with all the equipment you see here. Take care.